Yep, good. Good evening, councillors and officers and our viewers live streaming tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Linda Messina. I'm the Mayor of Darebin City Council and the chairperson of tonight's planning meeting. It is my pleasure to welcome you all. I declare this meeting open at 7:02 p.m. Item number one, welcome. Darebin City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Wurrung people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and waters we now call Darebin, and pays respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Council pays respect to all other Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander communities in Darebin. Council recognises and pays tribute to the diverse culture, resilience and heritage of Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people. I acknowledge that I am hosting and chairing this meeting on Wurundjeri Wurrung land, and I also acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of various lands in which you will be working from today, residing today or visiting today and viewing this meeting, and the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people participating in this meeting this evening. The health and safety and wellbeing of the community has and will always be paramount consideration of Council. Council continues to be guided by the government directives and wants to be able to do the right thing for the health of our community during COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is being held virtually in line with current health restrictions. Should technical problems be encountered by the Council, the meeting may be adjourned until these are resolved, the maximum of 30 minutes. And if we cannot resolve the problem, we'll be rescheduled this meeting. In such circumstances, any advice message will be shown on our screen. This meeting has been live streamed via a link on Council's website so that the public will be able to view the proceedings of the meeting. The meeting is also recorded and will be made available on Council website as soon as practical after the meeting. There are a few housekeeping rules, matters and technical tips for councils that I need to pass on. Please leave your video on and mute your sound unless you wish to speak. If you wish to electronically raise your hand, hover the participants button in the main video window and then press the small hand symbol in the right-hand corner. Please use this if you wish to speak in relation to a question or leave the meeting so I'm aware of this. You can also raise your actual hand to get to my attention. Note that there is no chat facility available during the meeting for councillors or general viewers. Item number one is membership. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to introduce the councillors and the senior staffs who are with us this evening to confirm councillors can be seen and hear each other. I want to just play around with my screen so I can see you all. Welcome. Welcome to Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Rennie, Councillor Newton, Councillor Greco, Councillor Lawrence, Councillor Demetriadis, Councillor Hannan, Councillor Williams, and our officers tonight are Rachel Olivier, General Manager of City Sustainability and Strategy, Karen Leader, Manager City Development, Joylene Boyle, Coordinator Statutory Planning, and Julie Smout, who is Coordinator Statutory Planning. I can't see Julie on the screen. Is Julie in attendance?
Julie's an apology this evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's get underway. There are no apologies from councillors intact. Item number 3 is disclosure of conflicts of interest. Councillors and officers, are there any disclosures or interests to declare? No. Councillors, there's no conflicts of interest. I'll now move to the confirmation of the minutes of the last council meeting. Can I please have a motion to adopt the council meetings for the planning committee meeting of the 10th of May 2021? That is moved by Councillor, I've lost my screen. One moment.
Councillor Williams, I think.
Councillor Williams, and I can't see the full screen. I'm just having a few technical difficulties.
I'll second.
Councillor Rennie. All those in favour? That's moved. That item is carried. Item number 5, consideration of reports. Application for planning permit D/727/2020, 57 Martin Street, Thornbury. Officers, I I will ask that you present your presentation in relation to this item to the councillors.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Messina. Yeah, this particular application is one where we're making a call on the appropriateness of the application. We can't make a decision as such because the matter is currently with VCAT, the applicant having lodged an appeal with VCAT prior to council making a formal decision. So tonight we are merely forming a view on the application prior to the VCAT hearing. The proposal is at number 57 Martin Street. That's a site located on the north side of the street. The proposal consists of 6 double-storey dwellings. Each dwelling contains 3 bedrooms. And what the layout of the proposal is quite conventional. All the dwellings are attached. The bedrooms are at first floor level, and at ground level you've got living rooms and rear courtyards. To the rear is a right of way, and all of the vehicles serving the development will be coming off the right of way, so there'll be no driveway or crossover to Martin Street at all. The development includes, as I mentioned, 6 dwellings, all 3 bedroom. A total of 8 car spaces are shown on plan. 4 of them are conventional spaces and another 4 are in a car stacker. Now, after the public notice period, of which we received 12 objections, the applicant provided officers with plans for discussion. Now, those discussion plans included the provision of an additional car space. So you'll note in the recommendation there is mention of the draft plan and in fact the provision of that additional space. So we agreed with the applicant, or through the notice period, I guess they considered the issues, one of which was car parking, so they have added that additional space, and we are seeking to have that included by the condition number 1K. So as I mentioned, it went through public notice. It did receive 12 objections. Those objections touched on issues regarding the design, neighbourhood character, car parking, setbacks, and overshadowing. Some of those issues are addressed in the conditions. There are some areas of non-compliance, as you'll see in the report. Those areas, by and large, are quite minor, particularly overshadowing and the setbacks. When it comes to the private open space provision, the rear courtyards, particularly of units 2 to 6, are 30 square metres in lieu of the requirement for 25 square metres under Res Code. Otherwise, on balance, officers felt this development was a good outcome and have sought to support the application subject to conditions. And that is all I can say on the matter.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions to the officers? Councillor Dimitriadis.
I just had a question. So there were originally 12 objectors. After the change in the parking to include an extra parking space, were the objectors notified, or did we hear back from them at all, or anything like that?
We did not we did not formally notify them of that change. The reason we don't tend to do that is because when we see an improvement, I suppose that we discuss with the applicant through or following a notification, providing it positively reflects the issues raised by objectors. We don't tend to then formally re-notify them. And the other point is they didn't formally lodge that plan. It's only a discussion plan, albeit there is a level of commitment to provide the extra space. It is only a discussion plan in the context of the current appeal. There might be a chance to formally notify the neighbouring parties once we're closer to the VCAT hearing date. So VCAT will have in their processes options, including notification, particularly when plans do change. So that gives the neighbouring parties the chance to reconsider their objections. If the plans or address their issues, they may not then want to participate in the appeal, given their issues may have been addressed.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any further speakers? Councillors, as there are no further questions, we'll now move to the hearing of submissions from the applicant and the objectors. I don't think we have the applicant here this evening. Can I confirm that the applicant is not here this evening? No. I note that there is one objector and has requested to address the committee, Ms. Julianne Bryce of 70 Martin Street, Thornbury. Are you there, Julianne? I can see you. Welcome and good evening, Julianne. Julianne, you're an objector and you have 3 minutes to address the committee. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation and opportunity to address the Darebin City Council Planning Committee. My name is Julianne Bryce. I own and live at 70 Martin Street, Thornbury, the property directly opposite the proposed development at 57 Martin Street. I've lived at 70 Martin Street for 26 years this July. I'm presenting tonight following my written objection lodged in March. Martin Street is a short, busy street. I live on the side of the street that is mostly detached houses. The opposite side of the street is now almost entirely flats, apartments and townhouses. And there are also 2 Greek churches in our street. The Greek Orthodox Church, located closest to my end of Martin Street, is a very busy church. My house is five houses away from the church, and the proposed development is 4 away on the opposite side of the road. Apart from the main events on the church calendar, one of which is Greek Easter, when the police close our street to all, including residents, there are many masses held every week. There are very regular funerals and often weddings held at the church. I cannot overemphasise the constant frustration and battle it is to find parking in our street. As most of the residents have no off-street parking, or if they do, they have only one park, the street is the only option. We are constantly competing with other residents, visitors and church parishioners for a park. In the last 26 years, this situation has progressively become worse as more developers have bought land and built apartments with insufficient on-site parking. There have been no measures introduced to address the parking problems in Martin Street. A number of years ago, concrete surrounds were placed on the road to plant trees. This further reduced the space for parking. The property developer and the reporters suggested that people are now less likely to own as many cars, thereby reducing the amount of on-site parking spaces needed. However, the opposite is true. The COVID-19 pandemic has significantly decreased the use of public transport and taxi rideshare services by all. There is no indication that this will change in the coming years, that we will be living with COVID-19 in the community. Private car purchases and use has dramatically increased. My neighbours all own multiple cars, more than 1.5 car parking spaces per dwelling. In my case, I live with my partner and daughter, who is now 23. We all require a car for our work. This equates to 3 people living in a 2-bedroom house with 3 cars. This is a very common scenario amongst my neighbours, many of whom have more than one child living at home of driving age, each of whom have cars. It is my understanding from the town planner and report that the number of parking spaces required for these 6 3-bedroom units is 2 parks per unit and an additional single visitors park for all 6 units. This would be a total of 13 on-site car parks. Given the already dire parking situation in Martin Street, I asked the Planning Committee to reject any proposal for a lesser number of on-site car parks than the minimum requirement of 13. I also asked that the proposal for 4 car stackers be rejected, as the logistics of their use mean that they will not get used. Car stackers will provide an area for more storage rather than additional parking. 9 car spaces with 4 car stackers is no way sufficient parking for the potential number of residents occupying these 6 units.
Thank you. Thank you, Julianne. Thank you so much. Do we have any, do I have a motion, councillors? Thank you for participating this evening. Councillor Rennie.
Thank you, Mayor Messina. I'd like to move an alternate recommendation. It's the one that was circulated by Ms. Leader at 4:53 p.m. Just I say that because there was a couple, and I'm sure it will come up on screen. I'll just increase the size of that so I can make.
If you can confirm, Councillor Rennie, that that is your...
Yes, I can confirm that that is the alternate motion I was accepting. Thank you.
Okay, I need to change this because I can't see all the gallery. Just one moment. Don't you just love modern technology and the issues that you have at times? Okay, I've got it. I've got it. Do I have a seconder for your alternate motion? Seconded by Councillor Dimitriadis. Councillor Rennie, would you like to speak to the alternate motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Messina, and thank you for seconding Councillor Dimitriadis. I'd also like to thank Ms. Julianne Bryce for coming tonight to talk about her street. And in fact, it is a street I know quite well, as my children went to primary school around the corner. And I noted with some interest that one of the things the officer's report said in relation to parking was that parking in Martin Street was unrestricted. I don't imagine, given the parking pressures in the street, that it will remain unrestricted. And so I think taking that as a kind of benchmark for suggesting that the parking in this proposal is adequate is probably not really satisfactory. But there are also a number of other ways in which this application falls a bit short of what we would expect. There are too many areas in which there are non-compliance with the standards. Those relate to side and rear setbacks, walls on boundaries, overshadowing of open space, and private open space. And the combination of this number of areas of non-compliance is something that we normally see when a developer is pushing the envelope just a bit too much. There is no doubt that the north side of Martin Street has seen a lot of development, and therefore I don't think we could say it would be out of character to have a multi-dwelling development on this block. But I think that 6 dwellings is simply too many. And if there were fewer dwellings proposed, I don't believe we would see so many areas of non-compliance, and it would also be easier to meet the parking requirements, thereby not pushing parking pressures onto a street which already experiences difficulties in this respect. So I won't go on other than to say I would like to see a development on this site that is 100% compliant, that doesn't cut any corners or seek any exemptions. And with something like overshadowing, for example, the provisions in the scheme are already too weak, and therefore I think we have to uphold them 100%. Thanks, councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Rennie. Councillor Dimitriadis, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have very similar concerns to Councillor Rennie about this one. In particular, the parking. There is expected, according to our planning scheme, that 13 parking spaces should be available on this property for the dwellings that are proposed. Unfortunately, only 8 have been confirmed, 4 of which are stacked, I believe, and 1 potential additional one if we can get that in writing as well. So I completely agree with what Councillor Rennie said. There's also quite a few setbacks in terms against clause 55, and which Councillor Rennie has already discussed. So I strongly support Councillor Rennie's amendment on this particular application.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers, councillors? Councillors, there's no further speakers, no further debate. I'll put this item to the vote. All those, what we're voting for, councillors, is the alternate motion. All those in favour? That is supported by Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Messina, Councillor Rennie, Councillor Newton, Councillor Greco, Councillor Lawrence, Councillor Dimitriadis, Councillor Williams. All those against? That's Councillor Hannan. That vote has been declared that the motion is carried at this particular time. The Planning Committee has decided not to support the application and issue a refusal to grant a planning permit on the grounds. The applicant and the objector will be notified in writing. The applicant can appeal the decision to VCAT. The process of the appeal is subject to timeframes detailed on the documentation. Item number 6, councillors, other business. 6.1, general planning information scheduled at VCAT applications. Councillor Laws, is there a mover for the recommendation? That is moved by Councillor Greco, seconded by Councillor McCarthy. Are there any speakers? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Item number 7, consideration of reports considered confidential. There are none. Item 8, close of meeting. Councillors, as there's no other business to consider this evening, I will now declare that the planning meeting closed at 7:23 p.m. Thank you. We will have a further 5 minutes before we commence the special council, 10 minutes before we recommence the special council meetings. I'll see you in 10 minutes, councillors. Thank you. Yeah, and I've just been advised that a new invitation link will be sent.